I need to get divorced and I don't know where to start. Hi, I'm Bill Farias, founder of Farias Family Law, and this is a very common question because divorce issues tend to just creep right up on people, right? It's very painful to think about your marriage falling apart. So a lot of people sort of suppress that. And then all of a sudden, when they figure out that there's infidelity or their spouse just tells them, hey, this is not working out, then it hits them like a ton of bricks. They're surprised, and they're really, many people struggling to figure out where to begin. What's the best first step? So I have 3 steps that are really important that I think give you the best chance of putting you in the best frame of mind and having you well equipped to make or take this important step. So the first step is tending to your wellness. And yes, this has nothing to do with divorce, but what we have found is that people who can prioritize their wellness when they're going through a difficult time are in a much better position to make important decisions about their lives, to make rational, reasonable, and good decisions. So what does this look like, tending to your wellness? There are a lot of areas, right? There's sleep, there is diet, exercise, mindfulness, meditation, doing things you enjoy, being in the moment, hydrating. Pick an area that you want to improve in, one at a time. If you're going to try to change everything at once, you will change nothing at all. And tackle it, right? Commit to getting yourself whole and feeling good about yourself and figuring out what it is that you need to do to get there. Sometimes it involves just going back to the basics on the items I described or the areas I described. Sometimes that means connecting with a therapist, right? Getting some clinical help. Depending on where you're at and how this is affecting you, you may want to consider signing up for a psychological assessment, getting some help in place. There is no shame in that. What you're doing is you are helping yourself process what's happening now, and you are also collecting tools for your toolkit so that when you face adversity later on, you'll be in a much better position to tackle it effectively. So your wellness is really number one. And I know some of you might say, well, how do you expect me to tend to my wellness when there's chaos around me and I'm so stressed? And the key is you will not be able to effectively deal with the stress, or at least you will not be optimized to deal with the stress in the best way possible if you don't first tend to your needs. So figure out what those are, get those in place, get yourself in a position of health and calm, and you're going to be able to go through it much more smoothly and effectively. The second area that I think is important to tackle is education. And it is so much easier to do this today in 2023 than it was 10, 20 years ago, because there is a wealth of information available. Like back in the day, people would have to go to libraries and read law books that you can't decipher. Government websites, family law attorney websites contain a wealth of information about the key issues that you deal with in divorce. So if you want to be in a better position to size up whether the attorney you're shopping for is the best fit for you based on the goals that they set with you, if you want to be in the best position to make good decisions every step of the way in your case, you got to educate yourself about divorce. You have to put time into it, right? Focus on the 1 or 2 issues that are most important to you. If it's your children, keeping your home, your retirement accounts, whatever it is that's most important to you, go educate yourself on it so that you can have a productive conversation with the professional you meet with to talk about the issues you'll be tackling in divorce. So education is really a big part of it. and you want to make sure you pay special attention to the key issues in your particular circumstances. And finally, what you want to do is you want to think about what your risk level is for your particular circumstances. So think of it this way. The higher the risk, the more likely it is that it's in your best interest to meet with a professional to process the issues, get an assessment, analyze, and come up with a game plan at the very least. And then you can decide if you need help beyond that with representation. And so the way you can think about this risk spectrum is if you're in a very short-term marriage and you don't have children, then that's a much lower risk case, right? Especially if you have similar incomes, if you didn't accumulate a lot of assets during the marriage. So you probably don't need much guidance there. You just want to draft the documents and finalize a divorce in some of those cases where there isn't a lot on the line. But when you throw children into the mix, when you have a longer marriage, when you have an income disparity, when you have more assets, that becomes a much higher risk case. And the mistake a lot of people make is digging into these higher risk cases on their own without guidance, because then they start to make mistakes. They start to dig themselves in a hole, either with their negotiations with their spouse, or worse yet, if they file the case and move forward, they make mistakes in the case and then they want to correct them. And then in some cases it's impossible and it just becomes a big mess. So you want to assess your risk, and look, in some cases or some firms offer free consults. They're usually not for very long and you don't get a ton of info. There are other firms, our firm included. We offer comprehensive assessments. They're about 45 minutes long. Right now we're at $295 for those assessments, but you get a full breakdown, right? We listen to what's going on. We give you advice on how to tackle the issues. We answer all of your questions, and then you can decide if it's something you need help with. But this part of it you really need to assess, right, is whether you would benefit from this type of consult. And again, the higher the risk, the more likely it is that it makes sense. Go out, get that feedback from a reliable attorney, get a plan in place, and you'll feel much more confident about executing. So if you're not sure where to begin, these are the 3 things that you can do immediately that will put you on the right path. Think about your wellness, tend to your wellness, come up with a plan to take care of yourself and execute. That's most important. Educate yourself on the divorce process and figure out whether you would benefit from an assessment with a reliable family law attorney to help you analyze your particular circumstances and put a plan in place. If you have any other questions, you can contact us 508-675-0464. If you found this video helpful, you can subscribe to our channel, like it, share it with anyone you think might benefit from it. You can email us also at info@fariasfamilylaw.com, and you can find us on social @FariasFamilyLaw. Thank you. Have a good day.